So, in modern times, homosexuality is a subject that is getting more and more attention, both in politics and the media, and also in just everyday life and conversation. But when it comes to what we should base our beliefs and doctrines on, the scriptures, what does scripture have to say about homosexuality? And how does this lifestyle choice affect the people who have chosen to live that way? Well, that's what we're going to examine tonight as we go through this teaching on homosexuality and the scripture. Coming up next in this drosh. So this teaching is going to be all about homosexuality and the scriptures. What does scripture say about homosexuality? Now, if you would like some more information on this subject, you can go down below in the description and you can click on the link that will take you directly to our website and the post for this drosh. There you can find the on-demand video that you can watch at your leisure. You can also find the drosh slides that you see here on your video screen that you can also go through at your own convenience. You'll be able to find the notes that we took for this subject and the transcript if that's available for you. And it's all conveniently located for you down in the description below. Just click on that link for the article post and you should be able to find that whether you're watching on a video platform or listening through an audio podcasting platform. Now, of course, like always, you can go directly to our website at godhonesttruth.com and click on the post from there. Also, before we get started, we would like to issue a viewer warning. There is viewer discretion advised. Like always, there's not going to be any kind of bad images displayed, and there's not going to be any kind of cursing or profanity, but the subject matter that we will be discussing tonight will be of the more mature nature. So depending on how you would like your kids to be exposed to this kind of thing, hey, use your own discretion, in other words, regarding your children or if there are young ones there in the vicinity. Now, of course, you can always watch this ahead of time and then go back and review it with them if need be. But just from the outset, viewer discretion is advised. Now, like always, we want to start directly from Scripture. We want to base everything that we believe, all of our doctrines, all our beliefs, on the foundation of Scripture. So what does Scripture itself have to say about homosexuality? A lot of people know these verses, but it's always good to review them. For instance, we look at Leviticus 18, verse 22. And do not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Now, of course, the idiom here, lie with a male, is speaking of sexual intercourse. Do not have sexual intercourse with a male like you would with a woman. That is an abomination. Now, the abomination part here is something that means utterly detestable, utterly disgusting, something along that lines. That's what abomination is. So you can really get a sense of what Scripture says about homosexuality directly from just this one verse. But we're going to examine a whole lot more. For instance, Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. And a man who lies with a male as he lies with a woman, both of them have done an abomination, and they shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. Now, a lot of sins that are covered within the Torah have various ways to be punished for it. You might say a lot of things have certain sacrifices that go along with the transgression, with the sin. Sometimes if you steal, then you get caught or you fess up, you pay back what you stole plus another 2/5, something like that. But certain rare sins require the death penalty. And one of these things, like adultery, is homosexuality. According to Scripture, homosexuality is so wrong. It is so evil, so horrid, that the death penalty is prescribed for that. In just a moment, a little bit later on in tonight's drosh, we'll be getting into the whole death penalty aspect of it. But just know that back during the times of a theocracy, the death penalty was prescribed for such heinous acts like homosexuality. And of course, we all know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But in case you don't, let's review that real quick. Genesis chapter 19, verses 1 through 5. And the two messengers came to Sodom in the morning, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, and he said, Look, please, my masters, please turn in to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet and rise early and go your way. And they said, No, but let us spend the night in the open square. But he urged them strongly, and they turned in to him, and he came into his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us and let us know them. Now, this idiom right here is also referring to sexual intercourse. These men wanted to have homosexual intercourse with these angels that went into Lot's house. And that's one of the reasons why Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. It was such a heinous act. Now, truth be told, Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed for a list of reasons, but homosexuality was one of the reasons they were destroyed. Jude chapter 1 verse 7 refers to this incident. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar way to these, having given themselves over to whoring and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, undergoing judicial punishment of everlasting fire. Sodom and Gomorrah were never rebuilt after they were destroyed by Yahweh. One of the reasons they were destroyed, like we mentioned earlier, is because of whoring and going after strange flesh, going after things that were abominable like homosexuality and other types of fornication. That's how serious of a sin that homosexuality is considered according to Scripture. Romans chapter 1, verse 26 through 27. Because of this, Elohim gave them over to degrading passions, for even their women exchanged natural relations for what is against nature. And likewise, the men also, having left natural relations with woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men committing indecency and receiving back the reward which was due for their strain. Now, some people within mainstream churchianity will say something to the effect of, oh, well, the Old Testament laws have been done away with. All that is no more. Well, here we can see at least one thing: homosexuality is still prohibited and looked down upon as a great and evil sin. Even in the Brit Hadashah, even after the death, burial, resurrection, and ascension of Yeshua, even after the supposed time that Yeshua did away with the law. Now, we all know that's not true. He did not do away with the Torah. And one aspect of that we can continue to see even in the Brit Hadashah. Again, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Do you not know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the reign of Elohim? Do not be deceived. Neither those who whore, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor greedy of gain, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor swindlers shall inherit the reign of Elohim. So once again, even in the Brit Hadashah, we can see that one of the sins that will keep people out of heaven is homosexuality. Going on to 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 8 through 11. And we know that the Torah is good if one uses it legitimately, knowing this, that Torah is not laid down for a righteous being, but for the lawless and unruly, for the wicked and for sinners, for the wrongdoers and profane, for those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murderers, for those who whore, for sodomites, for kidnappers, for liars, for perjurers, and for whatever else that is contrary to sound teaching, according to the esteemed good news of the blessed Elohim, which was entrusted to me. Once again, we could go over lots of verses, but we see several already in the Torah, the Tanakh, speaking against homosexuality. We see this continued on into the Brit Hadashah, saying that homosexuals will not enter the kingdom of heaven, and that the Torah was not laid down for the righteous, that the Torah is good if you use it legitimately, because the Torah was laid down for those who are unrighteous, people like sodomites, homosexuals, to guide them, to show them and reveal to them the sin and the evil and the darkness that they are in, so that hopefully they come out of that darkness and get their lives right. Unfortunately, this hasn't always been the case throughout history. A lot of times, especially back in ancient Greece, they did homosexual things just as a cultural norm or for some kind of mentoring aspect. It wasn't always about marriage. This whole thing about homosexual marriage is a fairly recent thing, and we've seen the downward slope that we've been on ever since we started associating homosexuality with marriage. But that's not what marriage is. Marriage defined in secular terms, especially according to things like the Encyclopedia Americana, it states, in the natural history sense, marriage may be defined as a more or less durable union between male and female, lasting till after the birth and rearing of offspring. In the ethical and legal sense, marriage is a union between man and woman living in complete community of life for the establishment of a family. Going on in the Encyclopedia Britannica, marriage or matrimony may be defined either as A, the act, ceremony, or process by which the legal relationship of husband and wife is constituted, or B, as a physical, legal, and moral union between man and woman in complete community of life for the establishment of a family. So these two secular definitions we've got here, we see, number one, that marriage is between a man and a woman. Not a man and a man, not a woman and a woman, not between an it and an it. It's between a man and a woman. And number two, that primarily the purpose of a marriage is for child rearing, for raising up offspring, for the establishment of a family, as it says here in this definition. And that's all according to just secular definitions. But where did they get this idea about marriage from? Well, that comes straight from Scripture. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So back in the beginning, when there's only one man and one woman, that's how Yahweh created them. Not man and man, not woman and woman, man and woman. And the reason for this is for the purpose of being fruitful and multiplying. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 and 21 through 22. And Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. So the woman he created for the man. And this is reiterated on in the Brit Hadashah as well. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 8 through 9. For man is not from woman, but woman from man. For man also was not created for the woman, but woman for the man. Again, stating the basic facts of life, that woman was created for man to be a helper for man in many aspects of life, but especially in the aspect of child rearing. because you cannot reproduce and have children when it's man and man or woman and woman. This does not work. If you need that explained to you, go back to your middle school sexual education classes. It just does not work. It has to be a man and a woman in order to reproduce, no matter how you put it. And again, this goes right back to Scripture. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures on the earth. That was the first commandment ever given to mankind. Be fruitful and increase. What does that mean? Have babies. Fill the earth with humans. And again, you can only do that between a man and a woman. So we've seen for thousands of years, I mean, it's been common sense for I don't know how long, that marriage is between a man and a woman. But it's only been fairly recently in our history that people have tried to redefine marriage to be about something like between a man and a man, between a woman and a woman. And they're trying to muddy the waters. They're trying to co-opt this term of marriage to be something that it's not. One quote that I like that's normally attributed to J.R.R. Tolkien states this: evil cannot create anything new. They can only corrupt and ruin what good forces have invented or made. And we see this with the aspect of marriage. Marriage is something that is good. It's a blessed union between a man and a woman. But evil concepts like homosexuality have crept in and tried to corrupt that institution of marriage by redefining it to make it something that it's not. And this concept of marriage is not the only thing that the evil of homosexuality has tried to co-opt and corrupt. We also have things like the rainbow. We know from common sense and from reading our scriptures that the rainbow is a promise of Yahweh to never destroy the world again by water, by a flood. That's what the rainbow is. It's a symbol of Yahweh's promise. However, evil forces like those within homosexuality want to try and co-opt the rainbow for their own purposes, try to corrupt the symbol of the rainbow. And just like with the concept of marriage, no matter how hard they try, at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is they cannot truthfully and really change what these things are. They cannot truthfully and really change what marriage is, and they cannot truthfully and really change what the rainbow stands for. They can only pretend. Now, earlier we spoke about back in the Tanakh, when we were living in times of a theocracy, that homosexuality was one of those sins that was considered so abominable, so evil, so horrid, that the death penalty was prescribed as a punishment for that particular sin. So now let's talk about the death penalty according to Scripture. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. And a man who lies with a male as he lies with a woman, both of them have done an abomination. They shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. A lot of people in modern day times, when they get to talking to you, if you're someone of the faith, they say, well, you don't really believe Scripture because you don't go out killing homosexuals, right? Well, how do you answer that? I mean, yeah, obviously the Scripture says if they're homosexual, they're supposed to be put to death. But we don't do that now. So isn't that kind of at odds? No, not at all. Back during those times, that was the government they had, a theocracy. There was a Sanhedrin in place, and in order to institute the death penalty, there had to be 2 or 3 witnesses. They had to be brought before the elders. They had to be judged by the Sanhedrin before sentence was pronounced and they were actually put to death. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 18. Appoint judges and officers within all your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous ruling. These judges and officers that were appointed within a theocracy that goes by Scripture, which we should be going by, but we don't. We have more of a secular society. Here in America, we have a republic, not a theocracy. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 13 through 14. Some men, sons of Belial, have gone out of your midst and led the inhabitants of their city astray, saying, Let us go and serve other mighty ones whom you have not known. Then you shall inquire, search out, and ask diligently, and see if the matter is true, and establish that this abomination was done in your midst. Now here it's talking about another kind of abomination, different than homosexuality, but it's an abomination all the same. And the process that it starts outlining here, in addition to being judged by the officers and the judges of the city, the process here they are describing as going out, inquiring, searching out, asking diligently, doing an investigation to find the facts before you just go start killing people. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 15. One witness does not rise up against a man concerning any crookedness or any sin that he commits. At the mouth of two or at the mouth of three witnesses, a matter is established. So there's another aspect. There has to be 2 or 3 witnesses before the death penalty can be imposed. And then going on to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 through 21. When a man has a wayward and rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city, to the gate of his city, and shall say to the elders of his city, This son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He is not listening to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst, and let all Yisrael hear and fear. So here's a much better example of imposing the death penalty for something like disobeying and pretty much blaspheming your father and mother. They bring them to the elders, the judges, the officers of the city. They put whatever accusation forth. They do the inquiry. There's 2 or 3 witnesses, and only then are they judged and proclaimed to have the death penalty placed upon them. The same way is for homosexuality back during the times of a theocracy. But once again, we are not living under this theocracy. There is no Sanhedrin in place. We, at least here in America, live under a republic. We have the laws of that republic that we go by. So hopefully that clarifies things and why it is that we should not be going around and just executing homosexuals on a day-by-day basis. That's not scriptural, and it's not the laws that we are under as a nation anyways. So in times past, we have actually done a section during this kind of teaching about something called the Queen James Bible. We're not going to do it this time because since last time we ran across a video by Mike Winger, who does an excellent video teaching on diving into the Queen James Bible, where it came from, the errors contained within this translation. It's a really disgusting work that these people have put together. It's not even really that much of a Bible. They have completely twisted things that, go watch Mike Winger's video. He really goes into depth, and it's horrific what they have done to Scripture itself. But just a quick comment 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 warns us of this kind of thing that would come up even in our time. 2 Timothy 4:3 states, "For there shall be a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires they shall heap up for themselves teachers tickling their ear." Now, these people who created the Queen James Bible did not want sound teaching. They did not want biblical teaching. They wanted the Bible to say what they wanted it to say, not what Scripture actually says. They're twisting it. One of the reasons they do this is because they know that morality is based on Scripture, based on Yahweh and what He set down for us to go through life. They hate the idea of morality, and this is part of the homosexual agenda, to destroy and get rid of morality. Coming from the book After the Ball, How America Will Conquer Its Fear and Hatred of Gays in the 90s, this is the book that's referred to almost as the homosexual agenda. And one section in there where it's talking about morality, it states, "The explicit root and branch rejection of morality by gays has been real, pervasive, and baleful in its effect on both the quality of life that we create for ourselves within the community and our public relations with straights. In short, many gays reject morality, offering any one of a variety of reasons, rational and emotional, for doing so. But there's a simpler, darker reason why many gays choose to live without morality. As ideologies go, amorality is damned convenient, and the mortal enemy of that convenience is the value judgment. Without morality, there can be no compelling basis for responsibility to others." Right there from their own words. You have to reject morality to be homosexual. There's no two ways around it. You cannot be moral and homosexual. It just does not go together. And notice another aspect that they're readily admitting here. It says, without morality, there can be no compelling basis for responsibility to others. Being homosexual, choosing to be homosexual is a better way to put it. But choosing to be homosexual is not being responsible to others. It's harmful to other people. It's obviously harmful to yourself if you're engaged in that kind of thing. We'll get into some more of that here in just a moment. But it's definitely not a lifestyle choice that is responsible to other people. So obviously, if you've ever discussed this nowadays in modern times, you've obviously heard some objections to Scripture, trying to justify, trying to rationalize the homosexual lifestyle choice. For instance, here is an oldie but still going strong with those who are pro-homosexual. Homosexuals are born gay. Is that true? They're trying to justify their lifestyle choice, but is it true? Are homosexuals actually born gay? Well, studies have been done on genetically identical twins. One is gay and the other is not. So how is it that twins who have the exact same DNA turn out to where one is gay and the other is not? That just makes no sense. And again, it goes back to alluding to the fact that homosexuality is a choice, not a genetic trait. A lot of times there's no past family history of homosexuality. For instance, I'm a Caucasian because that is genetic. I was truly born Caucasian. There's a long history in my family of people being Caucasian, right? That's not the case with homosexuality, though. When everyone is born, they are born what they term as heterosexual. But in all reality, people are just born natural. It's not until later in life that they choose to be unnatural and go after evil things like homosexuality. There's been no genetic or DNA links that have been found for homosexuality. There's been advances that you wouldn't believe in genetic technology and understanding, and still they have not found the gay gene, where someone is born gay and they looked in their DNA and they found the gay gene. Because it's just not there. It does not exist. And if people were born gay, they wouldn't be able to stop being gay. You can find all kinds of testimonies on the internet where people have come to Yeshua. They've gotten their lives corrected and they are now no longer gay. They sometimes go on to meet women, marry these women, and have happy and productive families. Now, if you were born gay, and that was a true statement, they would not be able to do that. For instance, I cannot change over into being someone of African descent or someone of Asian descent. It's just not possible because I am born Caucasian, and those other traits, those other ethnicities are just the way people are born. In reality, I cannot change over to being a female because it's just genetic in me to be a male. I was born with XY chromosomes. I will always have XY chromosomes, and I can't change that. But homosexuals, lots of homosexuals, have gotten their lives straightened out. They've come out of the darkness of homosexuality, and they are now natural people reproducing with women, having children. They've gotten their lives straight. And praise Yah for that. But it's just further evidence, further proof that homosexuality is not the way people are born. Another objection states that if it doesn't hurt anyone, if it's just behind closed doors, then what does it matter? Shouldn't be looking in people's bedroom or care what they're doing in their bedroom. It doesn't hurt anybody. Right? Is that true? Does it really hurt people? Well, yes, it does hurt people when it infringes on their specific religious beliefs. For instance, when you force people against their will, against their choice, to bake a cake for a homosexual wedding, when you force people against their will, against their choice, to take photographs for a homosexual wedding, yeah, it hurts people. It ruins people's lives when you go and you file lawsuits for not bowing to your desires like that. Yeah, it hurts people. It hurts people when free speech is oppressed to protect the ideology. And here we're speaking about the homosexual agenda. When you can't say certain words because they're offensive to protected people, yeah, it hurts people. It's a violation of the Constitution, and I, for the life of me, cannot understand why more and more people don't see that. But of course, you cannot have free speech when you're doing something evil like homosexuality and have it stand up. You have to suppress the truth in order for your evil to thrive. It also hurts people when children don't get the benefit of a mother and a father like they should have, like these children deserve. Children need an example of a good woman in their lives who can show them what a good wife and a good mother is supposed to be like. Children deserve the example of a good man in their lives who can show them what a good father and a good husband is supposed to be like. In a homosexual relationship, children don't get that. They get a warped and twisted view of what a relationship is supposed to be like. They don't understand either A, what a good man is supposed to be like, or B, what a good woman is supposed to be like. So they're underprivileged in that aspect. So yeah, homosexuality harms children in many ways, but in the aspect of not having the example of a good man or a good woman in their lives. So now, we're really going to hit home, especially for those of you out there who may be thinking that you are homosexual, or if you have people you know, friends or family, who are homosexual, who have chosen that lifestyle. This is going to be some stuff that really breaks your heart and feel for them, and will make you want to try and bring them out of this darkness of homosexuality that they are in. For instance, homosexuality results in a much shorter life expectancy. Meaning, if you go with this homosexual lifestyle, you are more likely than not to die a lot younger than people who live a natural lifestyle. Homosexual activity may be associated with a lifespan shortened by 20 to 30 years. A study that was done in, wherever Danish people are from, but Danish men and women, in the study that states that Danish men and women in same-sex marriages still have mortality rates that exceed those of the general population, stating that men and women in same-sex relationships die a lot sooner than those in natural relationships. Moving on, according to Newport Academy, 50% of LGBTQ teens seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, and 18% actually made a suicide attempt. That's more than twice the rate of suicide attempts among all U.S. teens, which is 9%. So this darkness of homosexuality messes with people's heads, so much so that it moves them to attempt suicide much, much more than people who are natural. Once again, 75% of LGBTQ teens experience symptoms of anxiety in the past year. 61% experienced symptoms of depression. And among all LGBTQ youth surveyed, 82% wanted mental health care in the past year. Again, this lifestyle choice of homosexuality messes with people's minds. It puts them in depression. It creates anxiety at a higher percentage than natural people. And they're seeking out mental health care at a much higher rate than natural people. So this lifestyle choice of homosexuality really goes to mess with people's minds. It's why we have to try and reach out to them to bring them out of this darkness that they are in. Again, according to healthyplace.com, studies have found that LGBTQ youth attempt suicide more than 3 times more frequently than heterosexual counterparts. A Canadian study estimated that the risk of suicide among LGBTQ youth is 14 times higher than for heterosexual youth. Among youth who attempted suicide, almost twice as many LGBTQ youth said they really hope to die. Of transgender people, between 30 and 45% report having attempted suicide. I mean, look at these numbers, these statistics of how messed up mentally these people are because they have chosen this lifestyle. We have got to reach out to them, get their lives turned around, bring them out of this darkness. Studies have shown that these suicide attempts and actual completions, the rate at which these LGBTQ people are doing suicides is at much higher rate than Jews within concentration camps. It's that bad. And everyone realizes how horrid the Holocaust was. Now, think about how messed up someone's mind has to be in order to try suicide at a higher rate than the Jews in concentration camps. That's how horrid this lifestyle choice is. And that's why we've got to reach out to them and try to get them help and try to get their lives turned around and on the right path. But in summary, homosexuality is a sin. No doubt about it. There's zero way that you can find from Scripture where homosexuality is okay. It's not. Homosexuality is a sin. Homosexuality is condemned in multiple places in both the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah. No one is born gay. That is debunked. The Queen James Bible is a perversion of Scripture. And once again, I would invite you to go look at Mike Winger's video he did on a deep dive into the Queen James Bible. The link for that video is down below, or you can just search for it on YouTube. Marriage was created and instituted and is between a man and a woman for the purpose of reproduction. Marriage, as defined as it is in reality, is between a man and a woman. Not between two men, not between two women. That's not marriage. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Homosexuality is also harmful not only to the general population as a whole, but also to those who choose to be homosexual. We examined the ways that it's harmful to society as a whole, and we've seen the way it messes with people's minds who choose to be in this lifestyle. And that's just the God-honest truth. You don't get away from facts. And they don't tell people in homosexual situations these facts enough. They try to placate them and condone it and make them feel good about their choice. And they shouldn't. It's harmful to these people. They need to come out of this darkness. Also, another great series from Mike Winger is a whole series on homosexuality. He goes through homosexuality in the Old Testament and the New Testament according to science. Goes on the health risk. He debunks various slogans, etc., etc. It's an absolutely wonderful series. You get to examine homosexuality from the aspect of Scripture and Christianity, and also from a secular side too. And neither way is good when it comes to homosexuality. So even if you're more secular minded, you really should watch this video series as well. Again, the link for this series is also down in the description below. And before we end, I would like to leave you with this one final quote. Homosexuality is not the cause, it's a symptom of the purpose of the adversary, and also a symptom of man's evil desire to serve himself and his own desires without being held accountable. And that's just so true. So thank you for watching this teaching on homosexuality and the Scripture. We hope that you got something out of it, and if you did, let us know down below in the comment section, and if we happen to miss anything, make sure to let us know that in the comments as well. While you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're notified every time that we go live or when we upload a new on-demand video. Make sure to hit that like button if you liked it. Hit the downvote if you didn't like it, but let us know down below what we might do better next time. And also hit that share button and share it around with someone that you may know. Thank you for joining us for another production from God Honest Truth Ministries. We hope that we have been of service to you, and if you have any feedback, then please reach out to us by email, and make sure to visit our website at godhonesttruth.com for more information, resources, and contact.